And the misinformation continues to spread like wildfire, right? More than a feeling. It's misinformation. It's constantly. I was just watching the press conference about Washington, D.C. And, immediately following the press conference, the guy gets on and he's like, well, Trump says that carjackings have gone up and murders have gone up, but we've got the numbers right here that show it has gone down. But he didn't pay attention to the part of that press conference where there was more than one person that said, I don't know whether it was a chief of police, somebody in authority in Washington, D.C., was told to report the wrong numbers and just got fired over it. And they said they're going to look into that shit because we don't want people reporting the wrong numbers, right? Sorry, guys, I don't run the air conditioning on my way to work because I don't like getting all cool and cozy and then having to go back out into it. I run it on the way home, so catch me on the way home video and you'll be a lot cooler. So anyhow, yeah, they didn't, that was CNN, of course, completely ignoring when not just Trump, but other people, whoever was there in the press conference, reported that, so-and-so just got fired because he was told to report the wrong numbers, and he said he wasn't going to do that, so they fired him. And, they're going to look into that shit. CNN does their thing after, basically their reaction video after the press conference. And, oh, yeah, look at this. We see, here's the numbers right here. It says crime's gone down. And it's crazy because, you look at the carjackings, and, 1 year they had, 154. And then, the next year they had 2. How's that possible? It just never works that way, okay? Lived in the city of Detroit my whole life. I know how that shit works. It slowly goes down unless you do something drastic, which looks like the president's doing today for Washington, D.C. And God bless him. I wish he'd do it for the city of Detroit. That's what another thing the city of Detroit needs is we need a fucking cop on every goddamn corner. Instead of, it wasn't long ago, just a couple years ago, and I told you guys about this. After 11 p.m., we had zero Detroit police patrolling the streets. Zero after 11 p.m. at night. That was just within the last couple of years. That wasn't, maybe even the last year. It could be like that right now. I really don't know. I haven't looked into it lately. But within the last 2 years anyway, zero police. Zero after 11 p.m. patrolling the streets. So you tell me how a major city in America is supposed to function and sustain itself like that, right? It's just not going to happen. But then you've got the other misinformation, and then you've got misinformed people making videos spreading more misinformation or their own private opinion, but they're using their own private opinion to act like they're reporting the truth of what's going on. And that's not how it works either, okay? It's just like, with the big beautiful bill, right? I'll tell you flat out, as far as the middle class goes, we got jack shit. We got jack shit out of the big beautiful bill. Okay, so yeah, there you go. There's something I'm not happy with President Trump. But I'm not unhappy with every single thing the guy does, It's just the demented people on the television. I caught CNN, afterward because I'm watching the press conference. And then you go to MSNBC and it's the same thing. Fox, the same thing, basically. It's just a bunch of fucking demented people spreading tons of misinformation because the only thing they know is orange man bad, Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad. The guy cannot do anything good because that is all they know. And there are many YouTubers with the same Trump derangement syndrome, right? just had a pretty funny video the gynecologist did about, and that guy's come up in my feed too. And I don't know whether it was a short or what. I commented on, like, the kid's only like 20 years old. He looks like he's 40. But he's just a dumb 20-year-old kid, and, you know, he's doing videos apparently now, you know, expressing his opinion about the politics of the United States, which he has no idea of, because he's like, it looks like he's probably of Indian descent or some type of that descent, and living in Germany currently. And he acts like his opinion of U.S. politics is, you know, the truth, and it just doesn't work like that, you know. And the gynecologist kind of made a video and kind of told the guy, you should probably shut the fuck up about it, because you sound like an idiot and you don't even realize it. And I get it, dude. I was 20 years old at one time too, and I thought I knew what I was talking about, and I sounded like a fucking idiot, you know. Some of us grow into our 40s and still fucking idiots, you know. I mean, it's a sad situation when you're just starting a career in your mid to late 30s. You know, you're just starting to figure out that you need a job. That's the other thing I wanted to talk about. Somebody had taken issue with my video about, you know, fuck the baby boomers. People keep saying that, fuck the baby boomers, and this dude's like, oh, the reason people say that is because the baby boomers, they didn't leave us anything. Well, if you're gonna live your life expecting someone to leave you something, you better fucking wake up quick, buddy. If you want, I've said it once and I'll say it again and again, if you want something in this life, you better fucking go out and get it. Because nobody's leaving you shit. And as far as the baby boomer generation, yeah, people came back from World War II. Those kids went out, got jobs, made something of themselves, and were able to retire. Back in the 90s, you know, it was a huge, in the late 90s and early 2000s, a massive population of retirees, retired baby boomers, you know. And why were they able, what were they supposed to just turn their retirement over to you so that, you know, you can have money for doing nothing, you know? And that's what I see in this generation. And not even, there's some of it in my own generation that are just stupid people that they think that, you know, somebody owes you something. Nobody owes you anything, dude. And if you're gonna sit around waiting for somebody to leave you something, or some kind of handout, you're gonna be sitting around for a long time. Me, I like to eat, like to have nice things, like to do nice things. You know, this was supposed to be retirement, but it's turned into a second career. And that's fine with me, because I am having the time of my life. Although I have to say, this year and last, it's starting to stress me out, which I did not get into this to be stressed out. That is not part of the deal. But I will say that it's also not going to be a deal breaker. Because, look, I hit a niche. There's a market for it. The market is relentless. It's, you know, like I say, I'm 3 weeks behind. I'm so far behind at this point, I don't even know. All I'm trying to do right now is deal with one customer at a time. I'm not even trying to get caught up anymore, because I don't even know where caught up starts anymore. I'm keeping, you know, those customers, you know, we're getting caught up as we can. You know, it's not like we're blowing them off. It's just that we're, you know, we're doing what we can to get caught up on them. In the meantime, you know, some of those people they didn't want to wait, and I don't blame them. It is what it is. the baby boomers didn't leave us anything. They just took. They took, huh? They took from the country, did they? Oh no, they didn't pay taxes and do the responsible thing for 30 and 40 years of their lives and put their money away so that they could have a nice retirement. No, they took from the country and left nothing for anybody else. Sounds like more like a government issue than anything, because you can thank NAFTA for taking from our country and leaving nothing. You know, a lot of people that I've said that, talked about that many times, you know. I got into the commercial demolition business right at the turn of NAFTA, and man, it was good to me. And it was a while before I had realized, and I really started to kind of look at it in a different way. You know, when we would go into and we'd tear down a 5 million square foot auto plant, and that would also release 10,000 jobs, and you would see the whole area, little businesses and restaurants closing and people moving, and people don't think about, you know, what an impact that has on an economy, you know, in a town. You know, when you have 10,000 people relieved of their duties, and then, you know, a lot of them are getting divorced, and a lot of them are, you know, some of them are losing their homes. So you've got foreclosures and vehicle repossessions and all kinds of shit that goes along with people losing their jobs. And what people don't realize, and what everybody should be pissed off about, is that those auto plants all still exist in Mexico today. There are places where you can literally stand on the U.S. side of the border, look across, and see GM, Ford, Chrysler, all the auto plants that used to exist in Flint, Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, and all points southeast Michigan. And that is a shame. You know, Ross Perot picked that one, you know, when he was running against Clinton. I mean, against all of them, really. He was an independent. You know, he said you pass NAFTA, and that sucking sound you hear is going to be the sound of American jobs going across the border. And he had that pegged. Everybody's like, he's just an old dumb hick. Listen to him. Just a simple guy. Well, guess what? He was dead on. And they, you know, like I said, I've said this before too. I've talked about this before. There's not many more videos I can really make, right, on this topic, because I've talked about it before. From a business owner standpoint, you know, I'm paying you here in Detroit. You're an auto worker. Let's say General is on the line, okay? You're making about, you know, back then they were probably making about $22, $23 an hour as their take-home pay before taxes. And then they had their benefits, health insurance, retirements, and annuities. Basically, you can double that number and say it's about $50 an hour. So if I'm paying you $50 an hour, and someone comes to me and says, hey, we can move this plant over to Mexico without any repercussions to us, and we can pay these people $2.50 a day. It is an absolute no-brainer from a business standpoint. And that's where tariffs come into play, okay? Tariffs is just another word for taxes, okay? And the United States has been getting hosed by the entire world. I see people bitching about, oh, wait till Canadian lumber. Canadian lumber. Wait till the next phase and the tariffs kick in. Yeah. But here's the thing, you know, somebody said something about, so basically the United States has declared war against Canada. No, I wouldn't say that. I would say the opposite. Canada declared war against the United States with their tariffs decades ago. Tariffs upwards of 150% on products coming into Canada from the United States. look into it, man. It's not hard to find. You can find the list of shit that, I mean, I'm talking 150% tariff on. Okay? No, the United States finally decided to defend itself. And so there you go. If you want to buy fucking Canadian lumber, you're going to pay the price for it. You're going to pay the tariff for it. You know, and, you know, yeah, it is a shame, but you know what? The housing market is so fucking inflated, it's ridiculous right now. I mean, it's not to the ridiculous point, but it scares me because it looks like another situation that's going to shake out and not do anyone any good. But people, of course, talk about the cost of new construction. And, you know, the United States, we still have a pretty large lumber industry. It's not as big as it once was because the U.S. government decided that, you know, we're going to shut some of that shit down and we're just going to sit on this land in case we need it. Well, we might need it. And Trump would be the guy, you know, he would have the balls to say, hey, we're going to open this up for lumber. We're going to open this section of wherever for companies to come in and bid and take trees down until we figure this thing out with Canada. Maybe, you know, we just use our own lumber from now on anyway. I mean, that's what a lot of people don't realize, and a lot of, especially the people from other countries, is they don't realize that, yeah, your country is like the size of one of our cities, okay? We've got a lot of land over here. Just the state of Alaska alone is massive, you know? It's like 150 of your countries, right? It's like, so, you know, it's not like we have untapped resources of lumber and everything. Oil, gold, they're still doing gold in Alaska. All kinds of metals and everything, a lot of untapped resources, okay? And there are, when I say untapped, I'm not talking about the places we're not taking oil from anymore. I'm talking about places that we haven't even gone for oil because we don't need to. But, you know, I'd love to see Trump, if he wants to have some balls, is to, you know, when these gas prices start going up, to just flat out say, you know what? We've decided we're going to use our own source of gasoline until the prices come down from wherever we're buying it from, Saudi Arabia likely. And you watch how fast the price of oil goes down. Like that. Because, look, we could, you know, we've got, you know, probably 100 years worth of our own oil that we could just sit for 100 years and just use our own oil and not import anything. We don't need to import oil. I think we do it, a lot of the importing of oil, I think we do for our own security because, like I said, that just leaves us with a bunch of oil. And yes, we're exporting oil to places and stuff like that, but those amounts are so small compared to the resources we have. Anyway, yeah, I watched Brad's video this morning. It was pretty funny. And you know what? And I'll tell you what, Brad was actually, he was nice in that. He was being nice to that kid. He didn't rip into him. You know, he let him know, but he didn't rip into him like he could have, you know. I mean, if Brad wanted to, he could have made that kid look like a complete ass. You know, he gently told him, hey man, maybe you should probably shut the fuck up about U.S. politics because you don't know what you're talking about. And, you know, that's the whole thing. Any subject that you're not informed on, and when I say not informed, if you're informed by MSNBC, Fox, CBS, ABC, whoever, if that's where your sole information is coming from, is one of those networks or the other, you're misinformed. So, and whatever the topic is that you're interested in, you need to go out and do your own research. Just like, okay, the other day, somebody told me they went to the tobacco shop, and this was a good one too, because I go to the tobacco shop. he had gone there to get a vape pen, and he went in there and they didn't have the one he had, and they said, the kid on the other side of the counter said, "Yep, everything's stuck at the border." And he's like, "What?" And he goes, "Yep, everything's stuck at the border. Trump's tariffs." And I was like, "Really?" So I was getting ready to go out on the boat, so I didn't really, but I this morning I looked into it because I need to go and pick up tobacco, because I'm like, what the fuck's going on, right? I enjoy these very cheap cigarettes that I smoke, and I'd like to keep enjoying them. So actually it has nothing to do with tariffs. What it is that they're enforcing the illegal vape products and stuff that are have been coming into the country completely unregulated for the last 4 or 5 years. And you know, and when it comes to this stuff, you have to understand, and I don't use vape, I like to be able to use vape, I just can't find anything that's satisfying. But here's the thing, is I'm not necessarily for FDA regulated products. But I also don't want counterfeit products either, and some shit that's been made in somebody's bathtub. You know, you really shouldn't be putting that in your lungs. You really shouldn't be putting anything in your lungs except air. But if you're going to, you know, I certainly don't want counterfeit products, which have been, apparently the Chinese market's been flooding us with a lot of illegal vape products and whatnot. So they're actually, that's what they're doing, is they're cracking down on that. They're not stopping the stuff that is FDA approved, which, you know, again, you know, anytime I hear FDA approved or one of those agencies, that does not give me any peace or comfort. You know, that tells me the government is controlling, you know, what you can and cannot put into your lungs, and that's not necessarily a good thing. You know, a lot of times it's definitely not a good thing. So I don't know, but like I said, if they're cracking down on that stuff, good. I'm glad they are, because you know, hey, what, you know, Chinese could send some shit over here very easily. We saw that back in 2019, right? Chinese sent that shit over here very easily, and then infected the entire world with it, which was, I don't think that was their plan to begin with. But anyway, I gotta go. Till next time, peace out.